Do you love the combat step more than life itself? Then Mishra Claimed by GIXX might be the commander for you. But first, if you hadn't hit that subscribe button yet, you should do that real quick. Mishra Claimed by GIXX reads, 2 a black, a red, legendary creature Phyrexian human artificer. Whenever you attack, each opponent loses X life and you gain X life, where X is the number of attacking creatures. If Mishra Claimed by GIXX and a creature named Phyrexian Dragon Engine are attacking and you both own and control them, exile them, then meld them into Mishra, lost to Phyrexia. It enters the battlefield tapped and attacking. 3/5. And we can't talk about this new Mishra without talking about Phyrexian Dragon Engine. 3 mana, artifact creature Phyrexian Dragon with double strike. When Phyrexian Dragon Engine enters the battlefield from your graveyard, you may discard your hand. If you do, draw 3 cards. Unearth 3 red for a 2/2. Melds with Mishra Claimed by GIXX. The meld mechanic lets us flip 2 cards over and they become 1 giant card. Together, these 2 meld into Mishra, lost to Phyrexia. Legendary artifact creature Phyrexian Artificer. When Mishra, lost to Phyrexia, enters the battlefield or attacks, choose 3. Target opponent discards 2 cards. Mishra deals 3 damage to any target. Destroy target artifact or planeswalker. Creatures you control gain menace and trample until end of turn. Creatures you don't control get -1/-1 until end of turn. Create 2 tapped Power Stone tokens, 9/9. Seriously, that's like 30 different things that it can do whenever you attack. So let's do some attacking and more attacking with cards that let us have multiple combat steps, like Scourge of the Throne. 4 red for a creature-type dragon with flying and dethrone. Whenever this creature attacks the player with the most life or tied for the most life, put a +1/+1 counter on it. And also, whenever the Scourge of the Thrones attacks for the first time each turn, if it's attacking the player with the most life or tied for most life, untap all attacking creatures. After this phase, there is an additional combat phase. This one's a bit tricky, and the first one of these effects I would consider cutting. Because of Little Mishra's ability to gain us life, it's not out of the realm of possibility that we will be the player with the most amount of life, meaning we can't trigger the extra combat. Morag, Fury of Akum, is 4 red, legendary creature, Minotaur Warrior. Each creature you control gets +1/+0 for each time it is attacked this turn. Landfall. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, if it's your main phase, there's an additional combat phase after this phase. At the beginning of that combat, untap all creatures you control. I don't presently run any fetch lands in this build, but this absolute unit would make me even consider running cards like Evolving Wilds. That way we can get 2 land drops in a turn for 2 extra combats. Karlach, Fury of Avernus, is 4 and a red for a legendary creature Tiefling Barbarian. Whenever you attack, if it's the first combat phase of the turn, untap all attacking creatures. They gain first strike until end of turn. After this phase, there's an additional combat phase, and choose a background, 5/4. Just straight up gives us an extra combat every turn. Combat Celebrant is 2 and a red for a creature human warrior. If Combat Celebrant hasn't been exerted this turn, you may exert it as it attacks. When you do, untap all other creatures you control, and after this phase, there is an additional combat phase. An exerted creature won't untap during your next untap step. This one gives us an extra combat step every other turn unless we untap it with an effect. Then we get it every turn. Delina, Wild Mage, is 3 and a red, legendary creature Elf Shaman. Whenever Delina Wild Mage attacks, choose a target creature you control, then roll a d20. 1 through 14, create a tapped and attacking token that's a copy of that creature, except it's not legendary, and it has exile this creature at the end of combat. 15 through 20, create one of those tokens, roll again. 3/2. Okay, so this one doesn't actually give us an extra combat step, but it can duplicate our commander to get double the value, which is close enough for me. The next part is making sure we have enough bodies to trigger Mini Mishra as much as possible. Bitter Blossom is 1 and a black for a tribal enchantment fairy. At the beginning of your upkeep, you lose 1 life and create 1/1 black fairy creature rogue token with flying. A token with evasion every turn is sweet, and while we still have Mini Mishra out, we can negate all the life we lose with a bit of life gain. Myr Battleseer is 7 mana, artifact creature Myr Construct. When Myr Battleseer enters the battlefield, create 4 1/1 colorless Myr artifact creature tokens. Whenever Myr Battleseer attacks, you may tap X untapped Myr you control. If you do, Myr Battleseer gets +X/+0 until end of turn and deals X damage to target player or planeswalker it's attacking. This can be great for getting huge swaths of damage in, and then when it inevitably kicks the bucket, we still have a bunch of Myr tokens to swing in. Loyal Apprentice is 1 and a red for a creature-type human artificer with haste. Lieutenant, at the beginning of your combat on your turn, if you control your commander, create a 1/1 colorless Thopter artifact creature token with flying. That token gains haste until end of turn, 2/1. More creatures with evasion every turn, as long as we have our commander out. And if we don't have our commander out, we have bigger problems than not getting free 1/1s. Hanweir Garrison is 2 and a red for a creature-type human soldier. Whenever Hanweir Garrison attacks, put 2 1/1 red human creature tokens onto the battlefield tapped and attacking. Melds with Hanweir Battlements, 2/3. And yes, before you ask, we do run Handwear battlements. But, more importantly, this creates 2 1/1s per turn, and can also meld into a giant Eldrazi. Absolutely amazing inclusion. Grave Titan is 4 black, creature type giant, Death Touch. Whenever Grave Titan enters the battlefield or attacks, put 2/2/2 black zombie creature tokens onto the battlefield. 6/6. Take everything except the meld from the last guy and double it. Double the CMC, double the power and toughness of the tokens, double the fun. Goblin Rabblemaster is 2 and a red for a creature type Goblin Warrior. Other Goblin creatures you control attack each turn if able. At the beginning of combat on your turn, create a 1/1 red Goblin creature token with haste. Whenever Goblin Rabblemaster attacks, it gets +1/+0 until end of turn for each other attacking Goblin 2/2. This can be not amazing since it forces our untapped goblins to attack other than itself, but the free token every turn is too great to pass up. Krenko, Tin Street Kingpin is 2 and a red for a legendary creature goblin. When Krenko, Tin Street Kingpin attacks, put a +1/+1 counter on it, then create a number of 1/1 red goblin creature tokens equal to Krenko's power. This one doesn't care about the clause of having to attack from Goblin Rabblemaster every single turn, since that's how we get tokens from it anyway, and this can get out of hand real fast. Legion Warboss is 2 and a red, creature type Goblin Soldier with Mentor. Whenever this creature attacks, put a +1/+1 counter on target attacking creature with lesser power. At the beginning of combat on your turn, create a 1/1 red Goblin creature token. That token gains haste until end of turn and attacks this combat if able. Similar to Goblin Rabblemaster in many ways. Krenko Mob Boss is 2 a red and a red, legendary creature Goblin Warrior. Tap, create X 1/1 red Goblin creature tokens where X is the number of goblins you control. 3/3. You know, when I first started the idea of building a Mishra deck, I honestly thought there would be a lot more artifacts involved. Instead, it's very heavily Goblin Tribal. You could honestly just go Goblin Tribal for this deck, using Mishra for the life gain, and I think it would still be a decent deck. Next, we're going to be attacking with a lot of tokens, and many of those tokens are going to die. So, we're going to try and get as much value out of them as possible. Impact Tremors is 1 and a red for an enchantment. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, Impact Tremors deals 1 damage to each opponent. This will trigger whenever we have tokens enter the battlefield, meaning even if we never get a chance to attack with them due to board wipes or something, at least we still gotten some value out of them. Dictate of Erebos is 3 black with an enchantment with flash, and whenever a creature you control dies, each opponent sacrifices a creature. Another great example of getting value out of our creatures without ever having to attack with them. Bastion of Remembrance is 2 and a black for an enchantment. When Bastion of Remembrance enters the battlefield, create a 1/1 white human soldier creature token. Whenever a creature you control dies, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. Even more opportunities to gain value off of death. This is starting to get morbid. Let's talk about attacking stuff again. Raid Bombardment is 2 and a red for an enchantment. Whenever a creature you control with power 2 or less attacks, Raid Bombardment deals 1 damage to the player or planeswalker that creature is attacking. Most of our tokens are power 2 or less, so this will trigger a metric ton of times. Goblin Bombardment is 1 and a red for an enchantment. Sacrifice a creature. Goblin Bombardment deals 1 damage to any target. This is good in response to a board wipe or targeted removal. That way we can eke out some extra damage. Perforos, God of the Forge, is 3 and a red. Legendary enchantment creature, God, indestructible. As long as your devotion to red is less than 5, Perforos isn't a creature. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, Perforos deals 2 damage to each opponent. 2 and a red, creatures you control get +1/+0 until end of turn 6/5. 2 damage on entry, and we can pump up the team for only 3 mana. This is an amazing card. Carder, Doomscourge, is 2 a black and a red for a legendary creature Demon Berserker. When Carder, Doomscourge, enters the battlefield, until your next turn, creatures your opponents control attack each combat if able, and attack a player other than you if able. Whenever an attacking creature dies, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life for 3. The first half of this card is neat, but we really care about the second half. Our creatures will very often be attacking, so them dying in combat is less of a possibility and more of an inevitability. Butcher of Malakir is 5 black for a creature type Vampire Warrior with flying. Whenever Butcher of Malakir or another creature you control dies, each opponent sacrifices a creature. 5/4. This is Dictate of Erebos with a body that flies. Drana, Liberator of Malakir, is 1 a black and a black for a legendary creature Vampire Ally. Flying first strike. Whenever Drana, Liberator of Malakir, deals combat damage to a player, put a +1/+1 counter on each attacking creature you control. 2/3. The cool thing about this card is that because it has first strike, it'll trigger pumping all of our creatures without first strike for their attack. This one also works really well with all of our extra combat cards. Garna, Bloodfist of Keld, is 1 a black, a red, and a red for a legendary creature Human Berserker. Whenever another creature you control dies, draw a card if it was attacking. Otherwise, Garna, Bloodfist of Keld deals 1 damage to each opponent. Card draw for losing tokens is amazing. I'm certain this card was made to combo with Mishra. Good luck convincing me otherwise. And that's it. That's the deck. Did I miss anything? If so, let me know in the comments down below. If you like this video, why not give it a like? And if you really like this video, you can always subscribe to my Patreon or even just my channel here. Either way, I hope you have a wonderful day.